Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this time of year. Thank you for the definitive winter season that we're in at the moment, that we don't always get. We just pray for the safety of those in our community, in our area, safety for those on the road, safety for our first responders, safety for those who are dealing with homelessness. Lord, we just pray for protection and opportunities for those people to find shelter and warmth and safety during the cold days and nights. Thank you for this club. Thank you for the members, those who are present and those who aren't, that you would be with all of us in everything that we do. Pray that we would continue to look for opportunities that you put in front of us to help and serve others. And we thank you for those who serve and lead us at the national, state, and local level. We thank you for those that serve to protect us in our armed forces, overseas and at home, and those that serve and protect us in our city and in our community, police and fire and first responders. Just be with them, protect them, and help them do what they do for us. And we're grateful for them. We ask you to be with us in everything that we do. Help us to carry the torch of service in Lake Highlands and be a beacon for those in our community. And we thank you for all that you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, well, I'm excited about our program this morning. I don't have a lot of announcements, kind of repeats from the past few meetings. Scholarship applications are out. Mario's anxiously awaiting for those to start coming in. I think they've been trickling in, but the floodgates will open, I'm sure, on the due date here at the end of the month. Community grant applications are open. Those also, I think Bill has extended the response date on those a little bit, but we're planning on considering those at our March board meeting. So getting those into him a few weeks before that meeting, the third week of March, would be helpful so he can present them to the board. Let's see. Winter is coming, and Mr. Mosley, who's always quick to share helpful information, hit me with an email from his home builder, who happens to be the builder of my home, with some information about prepping your house for the long and hard, cold days ahead, getting water hoses detached from your faucets, putting some covers on those faucets, maybe opening up cabinet doors on bathroom sinks and so forth that are on exterior walls, to let some warm air get in there. Just some good ideas and tips for keeping pipes from bursting, because that can be a real pain and something you don't want to deal with when it's freezing cold outside, or the week after when they all thaw out. So make sure you've got those things tended to. Pool equipment, if you've got outdoor pool equipment, maybe get a cover on it, so forth. So PSA there. Thanks, Rick, for passing that along. The spotlight on Lake Highlands, I didn't scroll down to see if Principal Jones was on, because I know I'm stuck here.
Hi, good morning. I'm here.
Oh, great. Well, I'll make a plug for the spotlight on Lake Highlands. I made it through some of it. It was awesome. The tour of the school, the video tour of the school is fantastic. I'll let you kind of take the reins there, but thank you all for putting that together.
Sure. Spotlight went really well. We were a bit nervous because it was virtual. Normally it's in person, but we got it all together. The video, I'm very proud of our AV students for coming together and making that, and so that site will continue to be live. We're not taking it down anytime soon. Things are going well on campus. We have two swimmers, Carson Brockett and Lucas Lang, heading to have girls basketball playoffs tonight, and then boys playoffs will start next week. We're off on Monday. The kids are out on Monday. We're not. We're still working, but we're having a virtual work day, and then we're going to play it by ear for the rest of the week, because like you said, winter is here, and it's I don't know if we're going to have school. So we enjoyed our day off yesterday.
Yes, yeah, that was a good call, especially as we saw things unfolding over in Fort Worth. That was not a good day to be out on the roads. Let's see what else I've got here. I've lost everyone. There we go. think that's about it in terms of announcements. Thank you, Principal Jones. Does anyone else, I'll pause for a moment to see if there's anyone else on the Zoom that would like to make a quick announcement. All right. Quiet bunch, as we're all largely confined to our homes and respective places of work these days. It's unfortunate, but there's not a whole lot going on right now. So hang in there. It's nice that we get to do these meetings on a weekly basis. I really do enjoy getting to see members from the club getting together. And I'm very much looking forward to the program. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Bailey to introduce our guest.
Thank you, Chris, and good morning, everybody. I am excited about today's program as well. You know, over this year, we've heard from a number of folks in kind of different sectors about how the pandemic has affected them, whether that's, our police and fire award recipients, our restaurant panel, obviously our schools. But one area that's been particularly hard hit that we really haven't heard from this year in our programming is the arts community. And so, I'm really excited to hear from the Dallas Children's Theater. Not only, are they, one of the best arts organizations here in town, but they're also, one that's right in our backyard. From the conversation when we jumped on the Zoom this morning, it's pretty clear that the Dallas Children's Theater doesn't need any real introduction. I think probably everybody on here either has used their programming or will, maybe for some of our younger members whose kids haven't aged into that yet. But they've got their full slate of performances every year, their acting classes, the summer theater camps, all of which my kids have enjoyed and taken advantage of. So like I said, we're really excited that we've got Sandra Session Robertson with us this morning. Sandra is the Senior Director of Communications and Philanthropy at the Dallas Children's Theater. And she's here to talk to us about what they've been through the past year, what they're looking at for 2021, both in terms of what they've come up with during the pandemic and what they're thinking about as we open things back up. And I think this will be particularly instructive for us as a club as well. We're not an arts organization, but we do have, a number of our flagship events and fundraising programs count on, in a typical year, being able to gather a lot of people together in person. So I'm really excited to hear what Sandra has to say about their plans going forward and, how that impacts us and what we can do to help. So Sandra, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you all for choosing Dallas Children's Theater and choosing to hear from us. You're a first for me, 7 a.m. Zoom. So I love that this is out there happening and delighted to be in your backyard. We like to say that we are a Lake Highlands treasure and are very proud of being located there and very proud that people as individuals use us. I want to talk to you about the schools a little bit later, but very pleased to be right there. And I just want to confirm what Michael said. If you would do an emoji or a thumbs up, has everyone on this call been to a Dallas Children's Theater show? I'd love to see a thumbs up, especially those I can't see. Yes, it just would be good to confirm that if you haven't, you really are missing out on a treasure that is in your own backyard. A little snapshot, maybe for more the business minded, Dallas Children's Theater pre-COVID is a $4 million operation. It's a 58,000 square foot facility serving 250,000 children and families on an annual basis. So when you think about performing arts organizations in Dallas that serve children, there's only one solely dedicated to children and families 365 days a year, and it's the one in your backyard. We are the largest of our kind in the Southwest region, and Time Magazine considers us one of the top 5 in the country. So again, the treasure you have here. Um, the business case is very much that, particularly in a time like this, kids are missing out on social emotional skills. And exactly that is what Dallas Children's Theater provides. Cooperation, teaching them cooperation, teaching them to work with others, creative problem solving. Every single one of our kids, even in the early ages, goes through having to learn to make decisions about what character they want to be, what costume they want to wear, what words they want their character to say. This is very much what Dallas Children's Theater does for every kid that comes through. And oftentimes our children don't really know why they had such a rich experience with us, but it is these very things. We are teaching them things that are not happening in the classroom. And our children, research shows, are better able to cope in a time like COVID, wherein they are isolated from others because they've very much been taught this broad range of skills. I will also tell you that people like a vice president at Microsoft says they can teach certain skills. They can't teach emotional social. And that is very much what they are looking for when they are looking to hire people, people who have a predisposition to this. And the reality is, you can't go to school and learn that. So if you don't start with your children young, processing and working with others in the way that the performing arts, I will say theater in particular. I love all the arts, but theater is the only discipline that marries all of the senses together. And so kids are having to be all senses, multisensory at the same time. So again, I think there's a huge business case for it. One of the anecdotal things I want to say that frustrates me about the Lake Highlands area, it's in the Richland ISD. We don't get a lot of those kids for field trips. And in fact, one of the opportunities we have been working with, we have made a case in the 100 Women group, and I recently just got you all's grant, is that we need to be finding a way to get school kids from Lake Highlands, our own backyard, to seeing shows at DCT during the school day. We have no problem with DISD because they set aside field trip money to take trips like coming to DCT. We don't get that from Lake Highlands. So of all of the districts in, District 1 through 10, our district in Lake Highland is the lowest user of school day shows. And I want to put that to you all to think about how we might remedy that. Like I said, I have a grant proposal that someone just sent me you all's. I don't know that I'll be able to submit it for this year, although we do have a virtual program. And we were able to tape one of our shows before the pandemic. And in fact, DISD paid to have every single second grader see that show, whether they are at home or they are in school. So I would have something to be able to offer. I don't know at this point. I just got the grant application just a few days ago. And so timing is an issue. But my point is, there's no reason the kids in our own backyard shouldn't be benefiting from this as well. So I just wanted leadership in Lake Highlands to think and know about that. I told you we were a $4 million operation pre-COVID. It has been hard. Our business is all about people gathering for the most part. So we really have had to learn what do you do when you can't come together. We are an organization where very much you are a part of our work. You sitting in the audience, you being a part of, are very much a part of. And so you can imagine that our wonderful artists, by the way, DCT is one of the second largest providers of work for performing artists in the city of Dallas, in the area there. So we very much feel the burden that we're not able to give them what they call their equity weeks. We are a union house, if you will. We do have some non-union shows, but we are governed by an entity called Actors Equity Association, and they are very much monitoring their actors right now and setting rules for how we will be able to go back. That's a good thing. The disadvantage is some of our actors have been out of work for a very long time. And as you can imagine, that's just really frustrating. Now, on our end, I will tell you one of the creative things that Dallas Children's Theater does is when people aren't acting, we hire them to be in our academy. So one of the reasons Roselle was talking about her children loving Dallas Children's Theater and Chris talking about the shows is the person teaching your children is an actor. It is their livelihood. They are very much understanding how to bring these children out. That is incredibly unique. So we are using people who this is their craft to do the part-time work of being teaching artists. It's not like we're recruiting people from Craigslist, which some of our art organizations do. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just going to say the level of what you get from from Dallas Children's Theater, is much different because these people live and breathe that work. I will tell you that thanks to some wonderful funders and thanks to some good government funding, Dallas Children's Theater has been able to keep people hired. We have 23 people on staff right now, and we are continuing to pay them benefits. So these are our full-time people, and we're continuing to pay them benefits. We have not stopped. We did have to let 5 people go to make this crazy magic work for when we originally thought we would be ramping back up, which was sometime this fall. Unfortunately, it looks like the winter will be the earliest time we can try a new show. And, at this point, that could change too. But I'll give you a little bit of a scoop in that we are hoping to open the doors sometime in December with a Charlie Brown Christmas. We think that would be a very uplifting, inspiring show. If you haven't seen it before, who knows how this is going to factor into COVID times, but the actors skate all into the audience. The whole section A is an ice skating rink. We have a live band performing on stage. It is a pretty magical experience. So right now, that's the thinking, but there are a lot of ducks that have to line up, and we don't know. Will the audience still have to wear masks? Will the actors have to wear masks? There's a lot of things that we've still got to figure out, but that's what we're talking about right now. And I did say to you, and we did benefit from a PPP loan. So that was a wonderful gift. It has helped make possible keeping all of these employees on staff. And right now we are in the process of trying to figure out if we're going to go for a PPP2 loan or a new loan or a new opportunity that's come out thanks to Senator Cornyn and working with Senator Klobuchar, and it's called the Shuttered Venues Operators Grant. And actually, Cornyn was the leader on this, largely because he understands what live venues, in his case in particular, music venues, do for the economy of Texas. And so he very much wanted them to have a lifeline, but it also includes theatrical producers such as DCT. So if you don't realize the difference between us and, let's say, an ATPAC, we create everything we do at Dallas Children's Theater. We are originators of it. We don't bring in groups from other locations. So again, something just very special is that you've got someone creating art, and particularly creating art for children. The other cool thing I want to tell you that's happened in the middle of this unbelievably crazy COVID time, it's hard for me to fathom this, but thanks to our wonderful board and some major donors, we now own that building. So we've invested close to $15 million in that building. And at this point, we own the building. And I will tell you that in the city of Dallas, most of those buildings are owned by the city. So while we are very much a contributor to the economy in this area, we don't get the subsidies that those other buildings get because we are not a city-owned building. So it's a privilege and a burden, but one that we are pretty happy about because, for example, the Lake Highlands Soccer Association has rented our building for their meetings for years. We're able to create our space. We have a church that rents in there every single weekend, every single Sunday. So we try to max that building out, A, because we have to. We very much need the revenue to keep it going, but B, because it's something we want to do to give back. So many of the smaller arts groups that don't have a place to rehearse use us either for free or very discounted rent. So something else you should be proud of knowing as it relates to DCT. I'm going to run through just a quick slide presentation on some of the things we have been doing in the midst of this COVID time, but I want to kind of give you a heads up of what is heading our way. We are planning in April two parking lot events. One for sensory-friendly families. Obviously, they have to sign up for it, so there's limited availability. We did one in December called the Ho Ho Holiday Drive-Through Parade with some of our actors. All COVID friendly. Nobody got out of the car. They had to wear a mask. But we were able to give those families a little gift at 10 different stations, and they got a performance at each of those stations at no cost, thanks to some of the donors that support our sensory-friendly programming. For those who don't know, these are children who have sensory sensitivities. In 2014, we started creating programming especially for them. And it means some modifications to our performances and whatnot, but we have been more than rewarded by the responses these families have had. These are children who previously were not going out to shows because they felt picked on. They felt like the family felt uncomfortable that the child might burst out and it might be offensive to someone. And so we have been really thrilled that we can fill the need for those families to go out and commune together and just get the same benefits that other children get for their children. So we've got a drive-through parking lot planned because the one in December was so successful. And then we're going to do one for our general audience. Again, it will be sign up only. Hopefully you all are a part of our e-news blast. We send out about 3 communications every single week. And so you will be some of the first to hear about the opportunity to sign up for that. Just keep your eye out for that. We are planning a hybrid summer right now, which means we are going to have some summer classes on site, as well as continuing to do some virtual classes. So if people are looking to gently begin to experiment with getting the kids out of the house and beginning to do some stuff, man, there's 2 pages of must-dos and check-ins and that kind of thing. But I think you will find that there is no one better. I mean, we get credited for being some of the most good stewards of children out there. So I think DCT would be a safe place to give your kids a try if you are so inclined. And then I've already sort of mentioned to you something that a lot of people don't know, and that is that we are looking at Charlie Brown Christmas for the winter. So I want to do a quick share screen here, and hopefully this will go the way I want it to. And walk you through just some of the things we have been doing. Can everyone see that? If you would shake your head. Yeah, great, thumbs up. I'm just going to kind of run through these, and then I want to show you some of the statistics that might be helpful to you all as the statistics we're looking at that are informing when we go back to business. The sad thing is that in March, we had just finished rehearsing before we had to shut down this amazing production, Last Stop on Market Street, a beautiful show about really a relationship between a grandchild and her grandparent, and also positivity. The grandchild is frustrated that she has to take the bus every day, and the mom says, well, unfortunately, those people who just have cars don't get to meet all the different interesting people. And so she really offers the child a different perspective on life. Some say has a faith-based message in it. It is not overt, but it certainly is a message about appreciating what you have, and also recognizing that there are people who have challenges and differences than you in the world. So just a really inspiring, beautiful play. We hope to bring it back next spring when we are able to return. This is a very large cast, but just an uplifting message. As I said, we have been providing classes to kids of all ages, giving them a chance to express themselves. Our artists are masterful at breaking the wall between the screen that we're all having to deal with and bringing kids out. And some of it is in large part because they recognize them from when they came to the theater. But even with our sensory families, we've got parents who are saying they are marveling at how their kids are responding to our virtual classes. Here's an example of a darling child who just really couldn't believe how much she had fun on Zoom. And they even got family in Massachusetts and Maryland to be able to watch her, and were really impressed. And that's her costume. She chose it. She got to decide how she was going to make it. And just look at the layers of the different materials she chose. She got to choose the words this character said. So even in COVID times, we're able to create what we call a showcase at the end where people get to watch a show. I did mention to you that we were able in early June to professionally tape one of our productions called Miss Nelson Has a Field Day. And thank goodness we did. DISD contracted with us to provide this show to every single second grader. And it is available now. We're offering it to private schools in the area, and anyone who is interested in signing up some kids, you get a code. It's all password protected, so we get to drive who sees it. And it's a great show too, about persistence and patience. And boy, don't we all need that message in this COVID time. We also produced a show earlier, thanks to full grant funding, called Andy Boy. Andy Boy is an interesting play about a child who it makes a transition, transgender. And so, we always try to address tough topics as it relates to teenagers. And this was an example of a show that just tried to give that audience a voice on the stage and a chance to talk about it. Early in the summer, we had a mask design contest, again, trying to help kids wrap their head around the importance of a mask, even though we all know that it's not really a requirement as much for children, giving them a chance to participate in the understanding of what was going on here. We produced a series of videos for schools called Sensory Search, again, intended to help teachers tap into all of the senses. So we have plays, we have videos, we have music videos that give children and families and parents and teachers something to understand. What is space? How do people relate to space? What is motion? And how it works in the theater, but also how it works into our world. We believe it helps young people identify what do they connect with the most, because in understanding what you are predisposed to will help you understand how to best relate to it. We did get very involved, and we feel like we have a strong role to play in the conversations around race. And so we echoed our commitment to it. We have a platform that helps people see a story on stage, and hopefully in turn can relate to, talk about something they saw on stage that helps them be a better citizen and a better friend to people who are struggling. And so we have, this gentleman wrote a book, and then this young woman created a kid's play about racism. We partnered with Texas Instruments and Capital One to offer a talk back around it so that we can facilitate our parents, if they so choose, having a conversation about race. This was the talk back. It's still available on our website if someone was interested in taking a look at it. And now we also produce 3 plays, which we are rolling out in Black History Month for the second time. Water Gun Song. just highlights a parent, an African American parent, who is trying to come to grips with her child going to someone else's house and playing with toy guns, and helping audiences see what African American parents worry about. I mean, an innocent toy gun, but she, because of experiences, has to try to grapple with how does she make that okay for her child, but also make sure her child understands somebody could misunderstand that. Nothing Rhymes with Juneteenth and Matter all deal with issues specifically to the African American race. But again, the idea has been to bring families together and give them a place where they can talk with all of their children about it. And so each of these, we don't leave people with just the content. We give you a chance to talk about it afterwards, and these will have talkbacks as well. If you're interested, I have a press release that I'm more than happy to share with you. These are some of the actors we've been able to employ tied to this. That was Water Gun Song I passed over. Nothing Rhymes with Juneteenth happens to deal with the Juneteenth celebration in Texas. And then hashtag Matter is a conversation between two college friends and two very different perspectives about issues, and very balanced, an interesting conversation. This was a family, as an example, that participated with us in all of our talkbacks, and they very much talk about, they thought they were raising their children a certain way, but they realized through these talkbacks that they needed to listen to their children a little bit more. So just a very healthy opportunity for all families to take advantage of some content that DCT has created. This is our incoming board president, and she also talks about the many and varied ways her children have benefited from Dallas Children's Theater. Here's just some of the numbers. This slide takes you through September of 2020 that we've been able to do through virtual programming. And you can see our numbers are still strong. People are watching our videos. They're participating in our school sessions. We are serving the community. And fundraising too, because it's very important that we are here for future generations. And so we're making no bones about the fact that we need funding to continue to do what we do. I will tell you, we did a very cool adventure that was interactive that we did as a fundraiser that people could also sign up for. My Faraway Adventure Kit. I got some funding, and we're going to offer it to groups like Nexus Recovery, Lumen Education, Dallas Children Advocacy Center, and Hope Kids. For children who might not otherwise be able to afford it, they get a box mailed to their home, and they get to participate in a going around the world adventure with two of our wonderful actors, Slappy and Monday. And I mentioned to you the Ho Ho Holiday Drive-Through Celebration. I also want to share with you just some statistics that might be helpful to you, as well as has been informing us. This was from October, but gives you a sense of what audiences we participated in this. These are national numbers, but we sent this to our 30,000 opt-in database. So folk from around our area are feeding into this as well. And as you can see in September, people were starting to say we'll resume attendance with children as soon as restrictions are lifted, versus this idea of will not resume attendance. And you can see vaccinations are critical, are somewhat very comfortable outdoor. You can see that has been growing over time. But you can also see that there's a third that still are not comfortable with indoor theater. So thinking about indoor activities, I think clearly vaccinations are going to be a big part of people being willing to move forward. In September, they said they wanted children to grow to appreciate theater. So we have a predisposed group that loves theater, which is great, and understands the sparking of imaginations. But 3 out of 10 families are ready to resume theater when restrictions are lifted. More are still waiting until they receive a vaccine or immunity. And I think as we continue to go through these, you will see that by and large, people are willing to do these kinds of things, but they want the confidence that the vaccines are sort of proliferate out there. Here's another example of that. When restrictions are lifted compared to not enrolling them until a vaccine is widely available. So continuing the work in that, I think, is going to mean success for any of us trying to have particularly indoor events. Doesn't mean you can't try some socially distanced things, but we have people who would consent to enrolling if their to having their children tested for coronavirus to be a part of our class. We are not requiring that for summer at this point, but we are making parents fill out a form that says they've had their temperature taken, they've not been exposed, they've not been out of the country, that kind of thing. People are participating in online since the pandemic, online participation. As you can see here, past 2 weeks, have they done something? So people are getting real comfortable with online, and I say it's okay to give it a try. And question about whether they have a preference or they see unique value in live stream. A third, that's a pretty decent number. And the fact that people of that have no preference is pretty good. We have done some live stream things, as you have seen, and they say they can still feel like theater, and they create the possibility for an interactive live event such as talkbacks. We jumped into all of that, so you all may think of that too. I do know that with children, it needs to be interesting. It has to be something where they get to talk and be a part of it. If you and your children you attend with are required to wear a mask and adhere to social guidelines, will you still attend theater? This was in the fall. You can see yes, no, maybe. And so clearly yes and maybe are the proliferate, but there are still people sort of on the fence about this. This was as of in September. I can tell you I've seen the November numbers, and it's still the same for the most part. We're seeing a little bit of inch up, but it's still pretty much the same. They want to know what you're doing. So disinfectants and face masks, you're going to have to be honest about how you are taking precautions to make sure that people know what the measures are that you are taking. So we already know that's pretty critical to families. So I'm going to stop share here and hope I have not gone over my allotted time, and open the floor for any questions that might be available. Turn it back over to Michael and Chris for shutting me up or closing out or asking any questions that might exist.
Thank you, Sandra. Any questions? Pause for just a moment. All right. Well, I really appreciate the information.
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris, this is Mark Holmes. I raised my hand. Sorry, probably didn't see it. I had a question. Ma'am, I'm a big fan of the DCT and have always been impressed in terms of the breadth of the topics that y'all have brought to the stage there. Can you, one of the things that's always interested me is how do y'all identify, in the case of a book that's then turned into adapted into some type of screenplay or play, how does your board or your producers find those? Where are they mining those ideas? And then how long does it take for an idea or a concept or a topic that y'all have identified, hey, we should bring something to the stage? How long does that take that to bring it forward from that book or that play screenplay to get it to y'all's stage?
Great questions. And by the way, I did have a chance to peek in chat and someone wanted the press release. So I just put the press release about our youth chats that are going on right now. I did put that in the, so that if you want to circulate it, if you want to participate, if you want to do it as a group yourself, we are hiring, we will give you the facilitator. We will pay for the facilitator if you want someone to help you facilitate that conversation. It's all in that press release. So It's a mini splintered thing. Finding books. There is an organization nationally called Theater for Young Audiences, and they are out there mining mostly, and it's all of us we are members of, and contracting with these estates like the Dr. Seuss estate or the Roald Dahl estate, or some of our I can't think of the family's name. That wrote Pinkalicious. They're actually out of Houston. They're two twin sisters out of Houston. Sometimes we will go find a book ourselves and go, wow, we want to adapt that. And we will contact those folks and say, will you let us adapt it? As you can imagine, the interesting thing is back in the day, no one was doing this work. Now, lots of people, even these entities that get brought into our town, are trying to appeal to the children and families, because when 2008 and 2009 happened, people weren't spending money on what was considered luxury, but they were spending money to take their children to these kinds of things. So in that time period, the competition just surged for us. And even Disney began to take titles that it make it hard for us to get a hold of. We were able to do Beauty and the Beast last year, but we had to charge extra for our Beauty and the Beast ticket because the royalties were so high. So we are in an interesting position where figuring out what the good stuff was. Somebody just said they love the Stephen Kellogg adaptation. That was one where he very much loved DCT. He's a good friend of Robin Flatt, who is one of your neighbors. And so he has allowed us, we're one of the only theaters he's allowed to adapt his plays. So sometimes we're able to build a relationship with an author where they will do that. I don't know if any of you saw Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters. It's a beautiful African-American Cinderella tale, and the John Steptoe Tate, it's a Caldecott award-winning book. And in the literary world, a Caldecott is a big deal. We were one of the few that got to adapt that, and it traveled all over the world. It's one right now we're trying to get the funding to produce on tape so that we have it in perpetuity, because it's rare to find a wonderful piece of art that also makes money for the theater. That one did. And so we're trying to figure out if we can secure our legacy of that one by getting it on tape. We're working on that right now. So it's all over the place. I'd love to talk to you more extensively about that if you're curious about how it happens. We have a wonderful board member. I think she's in our 80s now. She would not want me to say that, but we send her the scripts. She's a former librarian, a former teacher. So sometimes we get these scripts and we send them to her and we say, what do you think about this? Every one of our plays is TEKS aligned. So the state standards for what has to be taught in a school, we hire a substitute teacher to go in and align it with TEKS so that a teacher knows what lessons she can help advance through our teaching. So we take a lot of painstaking care to make sure this serves a teacher as well as a family. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, Mark, thanks. Good question. And thank you, Sandra, for that answer. Anybody else real quick before we wrap up?
Greg Duvall here. Can I just ask a question about some of that data you shared around people's mindset on coming back to large gatherings?
Mm-hmm.
You probably said it and I missed it, but are you guys conducting that, or are you receiving that from some other larger entity that's doing that for a broader audience than just your facility and your shows?
Right. That particular study is a study we are in partnership with other theaters like us around the country. So they are focused on children, youth theaters around the country. So they got a microcosm of theaters like us from all of the regions. They do have specific regional information to the Southwest region, but that is a composite.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anybody else?
I did just want to say thanks again for the opportunity. I love talking to our folks in our own backyard. Please, thank you for your continued support, and do continue to support it, because we own our own building. like I said, we have to pay for operations as well as capital. So all of the community support will help keep this treasure alive and well for all generations. In fact, companies, if there are companies there that are looking to invest their dollars somewhere, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about sponsorship as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. It's definitely a good cause. And as I mentioned at the top of the meeting, something that we've personally enjoyed and supported. And I'm looking forward to getting back to see some shows. I really appreciate you explaining and revealing some of the online and virtual content that's available, the upcoming events. We're going to get those in our newsletter so that we can share those with our community. But we really appreciate all that y'all do for the community, for our kids. You've probably gained some advocates this morning for getting some of our Lake Highland students in to see some of your programs during the school day. So hopefully we'll be able to move the needle on that. But really appreciate you being here and sharing with us this morning, Ms. Session Robertson. Thank you so much. And with that, just to give everyone a quick update on what's coming up. Next week, it looks like we've got Youth of the Month, followed by State Rep John Turner, the last Friday of the month. And then we move into March. And sometime before March, you'll hear from the board as to whether we're going to be moving forward that month in person or continue with the virtual meetings. More to come on that. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I know we've kind of run over our 1 hour allotted time, but as I mentioned earlier, it's great to see everyone. Really appreciate you jumping on a regular basis. Hope you enjoyed the meeting, and I'm going to sign off and get ready to go see the judge, as I mentioned. But y'all are welcome to stick around for a little bit. We'll keep the link open for as long as there's a critical mass. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Enjoy the cool weather. And hopefully some fun snow. And we will see you all next Friday.